My fellow Americans, I can tell you with the greatest assurance that our nation is not well. The very few that would disagree with that statement might say, "What do you mean? We have everything we need and daily life goes on as it always has." It's not an issue of whether our nation is functioning or whether we as individuals are functioning. It's a question of whether there are signs that America is unwell. Just as with a person who is ill, the most reliable measure is how we feel about our country. Even though we may not understand it and may not know the cause, you can tell that something is wrong. It's true that a few of us are doing quite well, thriving in fact. This is not an indication that America is just fine. On the contrary, when a few are doing exceedingly well, and yet so many are struggling, this demonstrates that we are fragmented and is just another sign that there is a crisis unfolding. Long ago, the world was troubled, much as it is today. Even though commandments were laid out that provided a guide for recovery, nations continued to falter. Many tried to find a remedy, but none could be found. Then finally, there was one that appeared and showed us the way. He provided the path to redemption for those who were willing to take it. The crisis today is born from the fact that our nation has lost its way. We have placed too much value on the ways of the world and all too often have forgotten spirituality and faith. Our nation is spiraling downward due to the weight of so many who have lost their moral compass. Yet it's so easy to follow the doctrines of the world, which include two basic principles. The first of which is we must take care of number one. No other person matters as much as ourselves, so we must do whatever it takes to provide for our wants and our desires. And second, if it feels good, then it must be good. Surprisingly, there are many that are not even aware of the path, so they are completely lost. They only know the ways of the world. Then there are some that once knew the path, but now it's all but forgotten. Still, there are others that follow the path. They are the ones that live a fulfilling life. Odd, isn't it? Those that focus on serving themselves are often empty, while those that serve the greater good are fulfilled. Just the opposite of what you might think. Our nation did not get this way because of some minor issues, such as a few mistakes along the way. And we did not get here overnight either. There is an urgent need to overcome the problems that we face, but to do so is no small matter. It will take major changes and considerable time to remedy the situation. What is of most concern is the warning from John Adams, who was a signatory of the Declaration of Independence, one of the framers of the Constitution, and the second President of the United States. He and other statesmen of his day expressed a widely held sentiment that no matter how well the Constitution is designed, it will not ensure freedom and prosperity unless it is supported by a virtuous people. What he said is this: our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Moral and spiritual decline comes slowly, whether on a personal level or a national one. They invade our everyday lives and become a normal part of our thought patterns. It happens so gradually that we don't even notice at first. But then, when we make decisions and the results don't often turn out so well, we begin to take notice. We don't understand why, but at least we know something is wrong. That's what's going on today. So our first step then is to develop a full understanding of how things have gotten this way. Nations go through a cycle, and much of it has to do with world events and a response to the current norms, resulting in shifts in generational attitudes. The cycle includes 4 phases and is chronicled in the book The Fourth Turning by William Strauss and Neil Howe. The first phase is a high. It's a period of good and stable times, of national pride, of conformity and a desire for social order, a time when society becomes unified following a period of great turmoil. The last time that America was in this period was from post-World War II until the early 1960s. Then there is a period of awakening, with a rejection of the limitations placed on individualism that were brought about during the first phase. It's a time when young activists take the stage and reject the norms of society, seeking their own answers to life's questions. It's a time of self-expression. America was in this period from the mid-1960s until the early 1980s. The third phase is an unraveling, characterized by a further increase in individualism and a degradation of social cohesiveness. During this phase, civil authority decreases due to distrust in leaders and institutions. It is a period of increasing social disorder and bad behavior, a time when cultural conflicts increase. America entered this phase in the mid-1980s and exited around 2008. And then there is the fourth and final phase, a time of crisis. That's where we are now. It's a time when there is a perception that the very survival of our nation is at stake. Our country experienced the fourth phase 3 other times in its history: during the American Revolution, the Civil War, and the stock market crash of 1929. The fourth phase is a time of significant conflict and civil unrest. Trust in our political and economic systems erodes, and some long-standing institutions of society are rejected. From the ashes of this cataclysm comes rebirth and a return to the first phase. As you can see, our nation faces a serious threat. Not only are we in the crisis phase of our nation's cycle, but we are experiencing a moral and spiritual decline as well. As a result, we are facing significant challenges and hardships in the coming years. But does it have to be that way? Our nation is in a tailspin. Can we pull it up before it hits the ground? If we are to achieve national restoration, we must be prepared to fight back. We must draw upon our strength and courage, coming together for this common cause. That is the spirit that helped us create our nation in the first place, and it is what will help us restore it now. We, the American Patriots, stand ready to take up the cause. We are guided by the 3 words that capture the essence of our being: faith, hope, and love. Faith in the founders of our country, who through divine insight created the greatest nation on earth. And faith in the American spirit, which was demonstrated so clearly long ago in the form of tremendous courage and willpower. In the quest for independence and freedom, true Americans defeated the most powerful army and navy on earth. And then there is hope. Hope that we can overcome any obstacle. Hope that moves us forward and empowers us in the face of impossible challenges. Yes, we can walk across the sea and reach the promised land. And then, even greater than either faith or hope, is love. We American patriots have a boundless love for the people, all of the people of this nation. We desire to see each one live in prosperity and freedom, in a nation of equality and national unity. Join us, and we will not only right the path of our nation, but set it on a course to turn it into a country so free, so prosperous, with such equality and justice for all that our founders could scarcely imagine it.
Many months of sacrifice and self-discipline lie ahead, months in which both our patience and our will be tested, months in which many threats and denunciations will keep us aware of our dangers. But the greatest danger of all would be to do nothing. The path we have chosen for the present is full of hazards, as all paths are. But it is the one most consistent with our character and courage as a nation and our commitments around the world. The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. And one path we shall never choose, and that is the path of surrender or submission.